Hello all, I'm Sai and in today's video, I'm bringing to you my December 2023 wrap-up. I know that this video is very late, but last year what happened is I did not make a full-length video for my December wrap-up, and because of that, I could not talk about some of the good books that I read in December. I don't want that to happen now also, that's why I'm making this video. I managed reading a total of 8 books in December, 7 books in the first half of the month, and 1 book in the second half so that I could keep myself cool and choose my favorite books for 2023 without any confusion. The 1 book that I read in the second half was a reread, and of the 8 books, 3 are physical books and 5 are audiobooks. So without any further ado, let's get into the books right away. Starting with the physical books as usual. The first book which I read in December is easily the best book that I've read by this author so far. It is not a 5-star read though, but as a whole I like the concept of this book and the way in which he has executed it so much, and it is Karna, King of Anga by Kevin Missal, which is the first book inside the Karna series. I actually thought that this book is a standalone and went forward and started with it, but only after finishing the book, I got to know that this is the first book in a series. It also has the title of the second book in the last page, which I did not see. Now it is quite a thick book and it is basically the retelling of the Mahabharata, but from the point of view of Karna and him as the main character. Since he is shown in the side of the negative characters inside the traditional way of which we see the Mahabharata to be, Karna is seen to be a very grey character, and that greyness of him is properly and perfectly used by Kevin Missal in this one. I also likes the way in which he likes to do these very fun and quirky things with the mythology that we know, and also creating certain kind of relationships between the characters whom we usually do not see being created in any other kind of media. This was one such book for me, and the only thing this book lacked according to me is world building. If this book had a bit more world building, trust me, this is definitely one of the world-class fantasy books from India. But in a way that is good too, because if you're a beginner, you can still read this book and enjoy it completely because it will not be daunting in any way. Just for that world building reason alone, I took away 1 star from it and I ended up rating it 4 stars. The second one is a YA contemporary book, and it is one of the most surprising reads of mine from 2023. I just hooked this book on a whim and started reading it sometime in the second week of December, and trust me, I was not able to put this book down at all because it was so engrossing. The story was amazing, and the way in which the author kept on progressing the story was very emotional and very heartbreaking for me. It is not a completely sad story by any means, but it has sadness woven throughout it, and the book is We Deserve Monuments by Jess Hammonds. In this book, we follow our main character, who's this high school girl. She is in the final year of her high school, and she has this huge plan to finish school along with her best friends and get into college by working so hard. During this time only, what happens is her maternal grandmother is affected by terminal stage cancer, and because of this, she along with her parents move back to the small town where her grandmother is living, and they have to take care of her. While they move there, our main character's life is totally shifted from its reality, and she is experiencing something completely new there. She also sees a lot of genuineness and honesty with the people who are living there and developing relationships with her. It is a book which explores stories from different generations put together and showing us them as conversations between characters happening in there. It is very emotional, super well written, and also very smoothly paced. I think I'll be recommending this more often in the future, and I rated it 4.5 stars. The last physical book is the reread which I talked about, and it is also one book that I read way back, like 5 years back, and I should say this time around it was much better for me as an experience, and it is A Court of Thorns and Roses by J Maas, which is the first book inside the series. I want to reread the second book and continue on with the other 3 books inside the series and finish it off this year. And I'll also be making review or discussion videos for all the 5 books inside the series. The video for this one will be coming out pretty soon, so do look out for it if you're interested. Now everyone knows about this book, right? It is basically just a retelling of the Beauty and Beast story, but against a fantasy backdrop, and our Beauty here is a huntress and the Beast is actually a fairy. The things that happen between them start off from this book. It is quite steamy and it is categorized as YA, but I'll not consider this as a young adult book because it does not have certain things that are necessary for a young adult book in any way. I categorize this as new adult, so if you're 18 and above, you can go forward and read this. And this was much more fun for me to read this time around compared to the first time I read it, because the first time I was just getting the vibes of the story and the atmosphere it was building up. But here I even like the writing of the author very much because it is very rich, at the same time so easy to read. You can get through J Maas's writing very easily. At the same time, it's not something that is easy to do it too, because she has a really beautiful writing style. She makes you picture the things that she wants you to picture properly. Sometimes they are super beautiful, sometimes they are totally disgusting, but she succeeds in doing that really well. I think for that reason itself, I keep on reading her books because they are not just super entertaining, they are also really well written, and I rated this one to 4 stars. The next one is an Indian adult contemporary book, and it is The Secret Wishlist by Preeti Shenoy. And trust me, after reading this book, I have completely become a Preeti Shenoy fan, okay? While reading 100 Little Flames itself, I became a fan of her. But after reading this one, that feeling is totally cemented, okay? I'm committed to reading each and every book that Preeti Shenoy puts out because they just gel with me perfectly. In this book, we follow the story of our main character, who is this woman in her mid-30s, and she was married off when she was very young in her early 20s itself, and her husband is someone who does not pay any kind of attention to her at all. She was married on to him very early in her life because of a kind of mistake that she did as a teenager, and the way in which Preeti Shenoy explores this character and the things that happens in her life is totally beautifully done, okay? There's nothing about this book that felt wrong to me at all. It just felt like the exact right way that things should progress on under conditions and circumstances like this. After reading this, as I said before, I want to go forward and read all of the other books that have been published by the author because I just love the vibe that she is giving out as a writer and the things that she's writing about. Even though this was not out of the world or anything, it kept me hooked to the story throughout, and I was so invested in the characters as well as what was happening to them. So I rated it 4 stars. Next, we have 2 books on manifestation that is written by one of the most popular authors, especially for this kind of concept, and it is by Neville Goddard. The books are Feeling is the Secret and At Your Command. Both of these books are very short audiobooks and they are available to listen for free in the Audible Plus catalog. So if you are using an audible.in account, just go forward and listen to these 2. They are very, very short and they are super effective also. In Feeling is the Secret, the author basically talks about how the law of attraction and law of assumption work from within us and not from out of us. How we feel determines what we attract towards ourselves. How we feel makes us vibrate in a particular frequency, and that particular frequency ends up attracting the things that we want in our lives towards us. For example, if you are feeling sad and down, it's not going to give us anything good in life. But if we have that feeling of confidence and joy that is coming from within without the need for anything external, it will automatically end up attracting such kind of people, things and happenings in our life towards us. And then At Your Command, the author talks about how the Bible talks about manifestation. Personally, I think of all the books that I have read that are referring to the Bible, this is the one which made the most sense to me because the author explains the lines from the Bible totally in the form of metaphors and not in the literal meaning. Because when I have heard lines from the Bible, certain lines which when understood literally just felt so ridiculous to me. But here the same lines, when the author explains them in the metaphorical way that he thinks they are, I think that makes a lot more sense. And I think if a religion is heading that many people towards a proper direction, I think that's the metaphorical approach that they might have taken also. Personally, for me, this was a very eye-opening book and I totally loved it. And I'm also pretty sure that I'll be reading a lot more of Neville Goddard's books this year. I rated both of these 4 stars each. The next one is an Indian romance book and it is also one of the most popular ones in our country, which is Everyone Has a Story by Savi Sharma. I listened to the audiobook of this one also from the Audible Plus catalog, and trust me, this book is not good, okay? The story in itself is nice, but the writing of the author is totally cheap, okay? I did not like the writing at all to even a single bit. It just felt like random sentences put together just so that it could sound poetic for some people, and I don't know, okay? I think this book must have been self-published in the beginning because I'm pretty sure that no publisher would have picked up this book and decided to publish it into the world with such bad writing. I have not read any other books by the author after this one, so I don't know if they have improved or not, but trust me, this is very bad writing. I'm not saying anything wrong about the story. I did like the story. It was very feel-good in its tone, but the writing was super horrible. The writing is the thing which binds us readers with the story, right? So if that is not good, no matter how good the story is, I think it will be spoiled by the writing, and that is probably what happened in this book for me. Despite that bothered story, I respect this book and I rated it 2.5 stars. And the last audiobook is The Princess and the Fangirl by Ashley Poston, which is kind of a companion or sequel to Geekerella by the same author. I'm saying companion because you need not read Geekerella in order to read the story and enjoy it because I think it stands on its own. It is basically about this actress who hates playing a role in a movie franchise that she is doing it in. Many more people also don't like her actually playing that role inside that franchise, and she's receiving a lot of love as well as hate for it, and she's not sure whether she wants to quit because she's making a lot of money out of this. At the same time, she's very young, so she can still go forward and make a life for herself in some other thing. It was a really well put together book and the writing of the author was very cozy to read. It is also a short book. You can sit down and finish it in one sitting. I remember I listened to the audiobook parallelly while working and commuting in a single day itself. It was that short. Just because it's short doesn't mean that the quality of the story is low in any way. It is just as good as Geekerella and I rated this one also 4 stars. So yes guys, those are all the 8 books that I managed to read in December, and it was also a really good reading month for me. Don't forget to let me know down in the comments what you read in December, and if you have read any of the books that I've talked about in this video, let me know your opinions on them also down in the comments. If you did find this video enjoyable and got something out of it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. And if you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.